Good morning, friends. I am Dr.Sunita, and I am going to present the passive constructions. There are many verbs we can express in two forms. The first one is active form and the second one is passive form. Passive forms need the object. If you want to transform active voice into passive, there is the necessity of the object. The verb which takes object is called transitive verb. So whenever there is transitive verb, we can transform the active voice into passive voice. But there are also intransitive verbs, because the basic sentence structure where there is subject, predicate and object, in this type of the structure the verb takes the object. But there are other structures in which we do not take the object as per the need of the expression. So there are two types of the verbs, transitive verb and intransitive verb. For example, I write a letter. In this sentence, I is the subject, write is the verb or it is called predicator, and a letter is an object. But the sentence like I live in Satara, in this structure I is the subject, live is the verb and in Satara is adverbial. In these two sentences, exactly the first one that we can transform into passive, because its verb is transitive, that is, in this sentence structure there is object. I write a letter, it is active form. We can transform it into passive like this: a letter is written by me. But in the second sentence, I live in Satara, we cannot transform this into passive, because there is no transitive verb, that is, there is intransitive verb which do not take the object. So I live in Satara, we do not transform this active into passive. So whenever we want to construct the passive sentence, we need the transitive verb, in which we can transform the subject as the adverb of agency. I write a letter, this active form, when we transform into passive, a letter is written by me, in which we have to make the changes. In the active voice or sentence, the subject is the actor, that is, he is doing something. But when we transform into passive, that subject becomes the passive, and naturally there is the passive construction. A letter is written by me. In this passive construction, letter doesn't do anything, that is, the subject of this sentence is the passive. So there are the changes that we have to observe and we have to consider seriously what and in which way we can construct the passive constructions. When we transform into passive from active voice or sentence, the first change is that the subject of the active sentence becomes adverb of agency. Instead of that subject, we have to use the object of the active sentence as the subject of the passive. These two major changes along with the third one, and the third one is the most important, that is there is most important change in the VP. VP means verb phrase. This verb phrase, that is predicator or the verb of the sentence. In this VP, the change is according to the person, the number and the tense. The main verb always in the passive construction is in past participle form. For example, I write a letter. In this active voice, when we transform into passive, a letter is written by me. In this passive construction, is written. In this VP, the main verb is written, that is, it is in the past participle form. And before that, there is a use of to be form is, as per there is the subject, and the subject is third person singular subject letter. So, as per the tense and the subject and the number of the subject, we have to make the changes in the VP, that is the main verb or the predicator. There is use of to be form, there is a use of to have the form, and for the future use of the modal auxiliary, either will or the shall. So, whenever we are looking into the changes, when we transform active into passive, we have to note the change in the subject, that is original object of the active becomes the subject, and original subject of the active becomes the adverb of agency, and third most important change is that the use of the VP in different forms. The main verb is always in all tenses in the passive construction used the past participle form of the verb. But to represent the tense of that passive construction, we have to apply, we have to use the to be form either or to have or to will or shall to present the future tense. In this way, the changes that we have to make. In the simple present and the simple past, there is no use of the auxiliary verb, just we can represent the tense with the main verb, that is, I write a letter. This is simple present. I wrote a letter. This is simple past tense. But when we transform these two into the passive constructions, we have to apply the auxiliary verb to be. A letter is written by me. It is the passive construction in the present tense. Similarly, a letter was written by me. It is the past tense. In the remaining tenses, there are use of the auxiliary forms of the verbs. And these auxiliary verbs are primary auxiliary verbs, to be and to have, as per the tense, that is, we have to apply. But when we are looking into the present perfect continuous tense or past perfect continuous tense or future perfect continuous tense, these active forms we do not transform into the passive, because the action is going on which is not represented in the passive construction. But in the other subtypes of the present tense, past tense and future tense, we can transform these active into the passive. Let me show you how we can represent the changes in the verb form. Here the verb to write that I have taken to represent the changes in the verb form when we construct the passive constructions. This is you can note the changes in the verb form, that is the VP, when we construct the passive voice or clause or sentence or just constructions. Thank you.